Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Yajin Chen. I'm so happy to be here today and to share the next 30 minutes with you. So today's topic is AI-based sustainability reporting. After the 30 minutes, I suppose you might have an understanding about what is AI-based sustainability reporting, why we need AI help for this, and how this can be beneficial to your work or the companies. All right. Before we dive into it, it's better to have like a very short introduction. I'm originally from China. I studied my bachelor and master in Germany. And in my master, I just fall in love with this sustainability analysis and, of course, life cycle assessment, which is doing the method to do the environmental impact analysis. And after my master, I worked in Technical University of Clausthal as a research assistant. And now I'm here in August-Wilhelm Scheer Institut, the Center for Digital Green Tech. And we focus not only on digital solutions, but also the green digital solutions. And we are located in Lower Saxony in Germany, which is in Clausthal. All right, started. As I said, the goal today is to really understand what is AI-based sustainability. And to do this, we have to break in steps. The first step is to understand what is a sustainability reporting and why that is important. We all know that we have to do a sustainability reporting, but just as a reminder, a fresh reminder about why that is that important and how we can benefit from this reporting. And the second step is the current solutions, because to do this, we definitely have a solutions right now, but it's only a 30 minutes webinar, so I'm just going to look into the environmental impact analysis and a part of the financial analysis, which is the cost analysis. And then I'm going to introduce our solutions, why we need our solutions since we already have a current solutions. Is that needed? How they can help and how can they use it? All right, just a fresh concept. We all know what sustainability is. It's not just CO2 emissions. It's about ecological sustainability. It's about social. It's about economics. These three basic typical pillars we are facing is the sustainability. And why? Why I have to take a look at the three pillars? It comes from the outside. The legal requirements, for example. For big companies, they have to do a cooperate sustainability reporting because they have to. It's a legal requirement. Other than legal requirement, there's so-called the ESG. There's other requirements such as the hot topic now, digital product passport. In this, it's also there are indicators related to the sustainability. For example, we have to make the whole supply chain transparent, and we have to evaluate the environmental impact within this supply chain, etc. We want to do a supply chain management. There's other requirements we have to follow. If we want to do a product carbon footprint accounting, another. So there's a lot of too many requirements we have to fulfill to achieve our goals or to have the investment or to increase our revenues. But those are not bad pressures. Those actually are good pressures. If we understand our systems or processes enough, especially through the sustainability aspect, we can then, as I said, make the whole supply chain more transparency, the process more transparency to increase customer trust, to do the environmental impact analysis to showcase that the process is not just a normal process, but a green process, not the bad greenwash one. The real green process can increase our reputation and, of course, our brand image. And this can, in the end, followed by increased revenue. They want to buy our product. And that's one of the most important reasons to increase the revenue, why we want to look into the sustainability reporting. And, of course, based on the study, From Morgan Stanley, there's 85% of the European investors are interested in the sustainable investing. And there's other pair of the data also showcase that the 78% of 320 investors surveyed thinks companies should make investments that address sustainability issues relevant to their business. And 52% of the over 1,000 investors, a study from the Morgan Stanley again, said that the financial performance of sustainable investment is also very interesting to them when they making their investment decision. So from outside, we can get beneficial from the sustainability reporting by increase our revenue and increase attractiveness to investors. Now inside, management. After we have like a clear understanding about realize the hotspot in our processes or the companies, like the environmental hotspot and of course the cost hotspot, we can then make a better decision. And we can then push ourselves to be more innovative in a way. We might change material, we might change, have a new technologies developed, etc., etc. And it's because we make a better decision, our cost can be reduced based on we increase our efficiency and effectiveness after a clear understanding about what is within my processes from the perspective view from sustainability. And a study from DNV shows that 40% of the business have been seeing revenue growth from investments in supply chain sustainability, and 34% have seen cost savings. Importance, very important. How to do it then? Like I said, I only have 30 minutes, so I'm just going to start from the environmental impact analysis, get rid of the social side, and also apart from the financial analysis, which is the cost. So let's start with the environmental impact analysis. There's actually a method specifically designed for the environmental impact assessment. It's so-called life cycle assessment. I bet a lot of you guys have been here of this method, the life cycle assessment. Yeah, the picture shows actually a life cycle from a product. It can definitely be customized, whether you want to do a service, environmental impact analysis, or a supply chain environmental impact analysis. It can be changed. Just as a example. Now there are some big names we can find from this picture. First off, from raw material extraction to the material production and to the input gate from the manufacturing, it's so-called cradle to gate. From the input gate from manufacturing to the output gate from the manufacturing is so-called gate to gate. This is a lot of company has been doing this, just gate to gate, because they just want to focus on the direct emissions from their production processes. And this is also so-called scope 1. And the most familiar one, cradle to grave, start from the raw material extraction to produce the product, use the product, and in the end, throw the product away, disposal to the grave. Now, the more ideally, what we want to achieve current days is the cradle to cradle. We'll not throw that away after the use of the product. Instead, we'll find a way to collect the used product, to recycle it, to reproduce it as a secondary material, and to reuse it in the cycle. So the LCA, life cycle assessment, is the tools that can perform a quantification of the environmental impact of our steps. You can say steps, you can say one life stage, you can say I do a cradle to gate. It's really up to you. How to do this is actually what we have discussed, what I have just mentioned is a part of the phase 1 from the 4 steps of, or the 4 phases of the life cycle assessment according to the ISO standard 14040 and 14044. The first is definition of the goal and scope. The goal would be like why I want to do this, why I need to do this, to whom I'm going to present my result. And the scope is something we've just discussed. What is the process that I'm looking for, whether that is a whole life cycle, whether that is one life cycle, one life stage, or whether that is cradle to gate, or whether that is just a processes. So after we set up our scope, The second step is to zoom in the scope, find all the processes in the scope, and to define the input and output of each processes. This is then the so-called life cycle inventory analysis. There's an example on the right side. Example from our old project where we conduct the LCA for different fabric in the fashion industry. And for example, the process is to produce 1 kilogram of nylon. Input is the energy used with amount, inventory, water used with amount, and the material used, for example, synthetic polymer, with the amount has been using to produce one. And the output is nylon. And this nylon will be act as an input to the next process. So everything's linked together, connected together. After we have the full inventory list, we can then to the third phase, is so-called life cycle impact assessment. The life cycle impact assessment to me is more like 2 steps. The first step is translation. How do we translate our technical data from XYZ megajoules and the XYZ liter of the water and XYZ gram or kilogram of the used materials into the unit that with a chemical-based unit related to the environment impact. For example, CO2 equivalent. For example, oil equivalent. Now this translation should be done by the environmental data bank. And the second step is how to categorize those chemical-based units into something that we can understand. For example, we are easy to understand nowadays, the kilogram of CO2 equivalent can represent climate change. And the kilogram of oil equivalent can categorize to the fossil depletion, will then be categorized into the big categorization resources. So after the translation and categorization, we'll have our result. To produce 1 kilogram of nylon, we'll have XYZ amount of CO2 emissions, XYZ amount of other emissions. And now we bring this result to our processes. That's the phase 4 interpretation. We find what causes it. This process has the highest emissions. What's the reason for this? After we identify the hotspot, then we're going to give our recommendations and suggestions to say, yeah, do this, our future plan. And then the CO2 emissions can drop down. This is how life cycle assessment roughly be described to be conducted, and then it's the cost part, life cycle costing. Well, I'm going to explain why we're going to use life cycle costing as a cost calculation. But first, according to the European Commission, the life cycle cost is can be divided into 2 costs. First is direct cost, as we can see here. When we say it can be seen from the name, right? Life cycle costing. So it's the exactly same life cycle in the life cycle assessment that we have been defined in the first stage. So it will have the same input, have the same processes, but output is slightly different. The output from LCA is environmental impact. The output from LCC is then the cost. It's just because it can be combined with life cycle assessment, so we can have an indirect cost as our second categorization in life cycle costing. In there, we're going to calculate the environmental externalities. And now why? Why there's lots of the cost calculation method, why life cycle costing? Because for sustainability reporting, it's important to identify the problem, right? To understand, realize the problems, but it's more important to understand where and what is the relationship between those problems. What is then the relationship between the so-called between the environmental impact and the costing? Is there like so-called trade-offs? Really? It really means that I have to invest a lot to drop down my CO2 emissions, and if I didn't invest a lot, my CO2 emission will be crazily high. To know this result, we have to integrate these 2 analyses. And this is the current solutions right now. What are the environmental impact of my supply chain, product, or services from yeah, LCA, from LCA we can learn this, and what are the costs of it. Now we can start to do this when we are doing the sustainability reporting. And the first problem is this. There's several screenshots. It's actually taken from my old LCA experiment, and of course my LCC analysis. And so I know the frustrating about facing those kind of data. Why we have this kind of data? Because we have different processes we have to look into. We have different input from technical data, input from cost, and we also don't have the cost, or we don't have the technical data. We have to ask suppliers from procurement department, and then we have to negotiate it, and then we have to evaluate it, and then we have to estimate it, and then we have to categorize all the input. It's just too much work, too much effort, and too chaotic, this unstructured database. This is definitely what we don't want. And don't forget why we want to do a sustainability reporting, because the requirement. Not just the data we have to focus this in, but also the requirements we have to follow. Not just the requirement. Based on a study from McKinsey, there's 85% of investors who agree or strongly agree that a sustainability reporting should have a standard, or at least one standard. Now there is a requirement, there is the data, and there is standard for writing a sustainability reporting. It's not over, because the investors also, the 82% of the investors, they said that companies should be required by laws to issue sustainability reports. Maybe in the future we're going to follow the law. So many input, data, requirements, standard, and maybe in future the law. This is just a little bit too chaotic, and that is the reason why I'm here today, to provide you with our solutions. Our first solution is so-called AI-based data management. In here, we're going to put all your input data, whether that is Excel table, maybe the technical data or cost data, PDF and Word document, maybe the requirements and standard emails, maybe from different stakeholders, different feedbacks, chef, teams, etc. We organize all of this data, use AI help, for example, the large language models, to build a more structured data. In the end, you are not just going to have a more structured data, but also with large language models, you can easily ask in the LLM and to say, yes, I want to know the technical data from material A. The material is from the component, and the component was from the supplier number 1. So this can be answered. And those kind of data can then be used to conduct a joint analysis of LCA and LCC. And what's interesting is the result of the LCA and LCC can again be the input from these data management systems. And then in the end, after several iterations, we can then ask LLM, what is the CO2 impact of the material A from component, and the component was from the supplier number 1. So this is goals that we're going to achieve, and we want to achieve based on our first solution. All right. Then I should say we're no longer saying, yes, these are the environmental impact of my supply chain product services whatsoever, but more than to say, yes, my supply chain product services complete with new regulation and requirements. We're not just doing LCA, but doing LCA tracking. Do you remember why we want to combine LCA and LCC together? Because we want to see the relationship in between. We want to play with the result. We want to see if I drop 10% of the LCC, what is the LCA is going to react? If I drop 10% of the LCA, what LCC is going to react? But now it's hard to do it because we conduct LCA in different softwares, and we conduct LCC maybe in Excel table, and the results are separated. It's really hard to bring them together. Even though we have large language models, LLM, we can ask, but the answer will be just the result, not the play that we want to have, like not the 10%, 5%, etc. So to do that, second solution is here, platform. Now, platform, we're not just going to provide LCA result, Monte Carlo for definitely Sankey diagram to show where lies a hotspot, LCC, with Monte Carlo analysis, sensitivity analysis for sure. And yeah, now with this one platform, everything together, we can now finally play with it to see if I drop this, if the increase, if the other thing can be increased or decreased, if I decrease LCA or the environmental impact, if the cost is really going to be increase or another way around. And not only this, we can then find the SAM hotspots. The SAM hotspots that shows there lies the hotspots. It caused the highest CO2 emissions and it caused the highest cost. And then I should say we've already have a smart sustainability reporting. We're not just answering the question about what is what, but we also answer the second question like, what are the costs of complying with regulations and requirements? It's already a smart sustainability reporting to me. But I'm here to provide more. We are in the real life. Real life means we are not looking for the data that will never change. We are looking for a dynamic data. The dynamic data is really like a sneaky rabbit that we have to catch it every once a year, every half year. But we have to figure it out so we know what's our next step. What if this change? What is the result of it? It's not just beneficial for our understanding of our processes, but also very important for investors. The Morgan Stanley, again, Institute, have the result that they found drivers for investors to rising their interest in sustainable investing. And for European investors, the top three, one of the top three drivers is market dynamics. To the global investors, another picture. It didn't take into the top three drivers, but it took the fourth place. Which means this suggests that sustainability-focused investors tend to be more focused on long-term investment horizon. So we have to take dynamic into account, not just for our own beneficial, but also to get more money from our investors. And we can do this by, for example, predict energy price, predict resource price, and we can show you the technology development in your direction, and we can do the market size, of course, the inflation rate. All the detailed dynamic static data can be translated or can be transferred to the dynamic data. How to do this? Our solutions, scenario. We build a scenario, we do a scenario analysis, we analyze the different circumstances, we set two extreme or maybe two extreme scenarios and maybe 2 to 3 normal scenarios. And within the scenarios, we can then play with LCA and LCC again to see the relationship, how many potential costs is expected if we really facing this problem, and how many environmental impact we're expected if we're in this kind of circumstances. Now, I should say it's a smart sustainability reporting because we can then answer how can the company how can we show in our sustainability reporting that we can dynamically optimize our processes and to reduce risks or costs? Our tools, I should say, our solutions. The first solution is AI-based data management. It is a base to other two solutions, and the second one is the platform. It can it can act like an input for the data, and it also is a baseline for the scenario analysis. And the third one is scenario analysis. And in the scenario analysis, we're going to use the data from platform and AI-based data and to predict the future, not far future, but maybe a future in 3-5 years, and be prepared. And altogether, I can say this is an optimized AI-based sustainability reporting. It is a very short half an hour to me, I should say. But yeah, we found the disadvantages of the current solutions, the problems chaotic data management, I'm here to help you with it with AI-based data management. We have found it's problematic that if we separate the environmental impact analysis and the cost analysis, that's why we have a platform to integrate them together. We have conquered that the static data is not that realistic. Then we set up a scenario. We see how your processes can be reacted in different scenarios and make the sustainability report not only effectively, efficiency, but more reliable. And now, if you have any problems, you say, I just want to manage my data. I'm here to help. You said, I don't have any analysis based on the lifecycle assessment and lifecycle costing. That's why the platform can really help you. Maybe you have already a lifecycle assessment result, then maybe you want a little bit like analysis or to play with the result from LCC and LCA to see the relationship in between. Then this is also the reason why I'm here. Please come to me and I will definitely see how we can help you. You say, yes, we already have the LCA and LCC result, or maybe you already have a sustainability reporting and you just want to see, how it's going to be looks like in the future. Then the scenario analysis is perfect for you. If you're not from a company side, you're not investors, and maybe you're just researchers and you want to do a sustainability analysis, now we can definitely sit down and talk together, see the collaboration opportunities, see how we can use AI to help in your sustainability analysis. Like in here, we accompany you into your digital future. So don't hesitate to contact me, write me, email me, or call me. I'm open for all the opportunities. And thank you very much.